Okay. So, when you think dream job, wallpaper hanging supervisor, it doesn't exactly spring to mind, right?
Right?
But bear with me on this one. You know how we love to dig into these kind of unexpected corners of the job market over here? Um,
Hmm.
this one is, well, it turns out it's way more fascinating than you might think.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're talking about paperhanger supervisors today. And to help us peel back the layers, so to speak, we've got some great info from RoleCatcher.
Always a good source.
Always a good source. They're like, if you don't know RoleCatcher, they're like, they kind of like that friend who always has the inside scoop on, like every job, every industry.
They seem to have the data behind it too.
They have the data and the AI. They've got all the, the buzzwords that get you excited. But really, it's about demystifying careers.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, they also help you land those jobs.
Nice.
With like interview prep and all that. So anyway, we're diving deep into their guide to paperhanger supervisor careers to figure out like what do these folks actually do, and is this the career path I never knew I was meant for? Spoiler alert, might be.
You never know.
So first things first, when I hear paperhanger supervisor, I'm picturing like someone with a really steady hand
Sure.
and maybe a very strong aversion to air bubbles.
Yeah. A meticulous eye for detail for sure.
But it's got to be more than that.
Right. Oh, way more. It's funny you mentioned the steady hand thing because, like, yeah, you need that. But a paperhanger supervisor, they're like the conductor of an orchestra or maybe the director on a film set. They're managing a whole team of paperhanger.
Wow, okay.
Making sure everything runs smoothly, on time, on budget.
So we're not just talking about picking out pretty patterns here. We're talking serious project management.
100%. I mean, think about it. You're dealing with clients, deadlines, maybe even some, shall we say, particular personalities. You got to be adaptable, resourceful, a master of problem solving. Like when that wallpaper scene just refuses to line up perfectly.
Oh, I can only imagine.
It happens. So yeah, you need that construction site know-how, but also the people skills to wrangle a team and manage those client expectations. It's a delicate balance.
That's so interesting. So it's like this very specific skill set, but also skills that could apply to like a million other jobs too.
Totally.
That's always something I find fascinating when we do these deep dives. It's like you think you're learning about one very specific thing, and then you realize it's actually giving you this whole new perspective on like work in general.
It's true. You start to see these connections, these transferable skills that can take you in all sorts of directions. It's like you might not ever hang wallpaper professionally, but understanding what it takes to excel in that role, it's valuable insight.
Okay, so back to the nitty-gritty for a sec. I want to get into the actual tasks and skills involved, but before we do, something RoleCatcher mentioned really caught my eye. They were talking about how like digital printing and adhesives are changing the game for this industry. I'm thinking, like, how high-tech can wallpaper paste really get?
Right. Right.
But apparently it's a thing. So, want to unpack that a bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so digital printing and adhesives, I mean, where do we even start with that?
Well, I guess with digital printing, it's had a huge impact on the wallpaper industry like it has on everything else.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And, it allows for these like crazy intricate designs, stuff you could never do with traditional printing methods.
Like way beyond like the repeating floral patterns and stuff.
Oh, way beyond. We're talking like, photorealistic textures or like, those big, huge murals. They're doing a lot of those wallpaper that looks like, exposed brick or like weathered wood. It's pretty wild.
So it's not even like wallpaper. It's like wall art almost.
Oh, right. Exactly. And it can be totally custom too.
Oh, wow.
Like imagine you've got a hotel lobby.
Yeah.
You could have this massive wallpaper mural.
Wow.
Of the city's skyline or something.
Oh, that's cool. I love that.
Or a restaurant, they could have something that reflects the menu.
That's so cool.
Or the chef's, style or whatever. It's pretty amazing.
So it's like you're not just a paperhanger supervisor. You're like an art installer.
In a way, yeah. You need that eye for detail and precision.
Totally. Yeah. Because I'm picturing like if you're off by like an eighth of an inch with some of these designs, it's going to throw the whole thing off.
Oh, yeah. You got to be a meticulous for sure.
Wow. Okay.
But it's also really exciting for the field, It's like this whole new level of creativity and possibility.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about like the career path itself. Is this something where you start out, like you're saying, you're like learning to, prep the surfaces and mix the paste and whatever.
Right.
And then you kind of work your way up to like, I don't know, master of the mural.
That's a good way to put it. RoleCatcher, actually, they lay out a pretty clear progression. Like, you might start as an assistant, learning the basics, prepping the walls, mixing adhesive, that sort of thing.
Right.
Then you move up to like a junior paper hanger role. You're tackling smaller projects, maybe assisting on bigger installations.
Right. So you're learning from the more experienced folks.
Exactly. You're getting that hands-on experience, building your skills.
Okay.
And then, as you gain more experience, you can move up to supervising those teams, managing those larger projects, maybe even consulting on design choices.
That's so cool.
It's a career with real potential, especially as the demand for these skills is just going to keep growing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
People are always going to need beautifully wallpapered walls.
Right. Especially with these like high-tech wallpapers, you're going to want somebody who knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
Totally. And speaking of, we've been talking about like hotels and restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Is that mainly where Paperhanger supervisors work, or is it more residential, or is it like a mix?
It's definitely a mix.
Okay.
I mean, you'll find them working on those like high-end homes, with the interior designers and everything.
Yeah.
But they could also be, like you said, hotels, restaurants, even hospitals.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't have thought of hospitals.
Got to have those cheerful waiting rooms.
Right.
And then, there's also historic restoration projects
Oh, wow.
where they're like recreating these like period-specific wallpaper designs. It's really cool.
That's amazing.
So it's a pretty diverse field when you think about it.
That's so cool. I love that. It's so much more than I was picturing, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you don't really think about it until you do, and then you're like, wow, there's a whole world there.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole process and a whole career path.
Right, and it's not just about slapping up some wallpaper. It's about, understanding those materials.
Yeah.
The techniques, the artistry of it.
It's history, even.
The history, exactly.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating.
It's like a hidden gem of a career, You wouldn't necessarily think about it, but it's out there.
Right.
And it sounds like it takes a lot of skill, and there's a lot of opportunity there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which makes me think about, like, everybody listening right now who maybe hadn't thought about a career as a paperhanger supervisor before.
Yeah.
But now they're like, wait a minute, I kind of like the sound of that.
Right, maybe.
What would you say to those people? Like, where do they even begin?
Well, that's where our friend RoleCatcher comes in again.
Oh, yeah. They're going to have some good stuff for us, I bet.
Oh, yeah, because their whole platform, like we said, is all about helping people navigate these waters.
Right.
Figure out those next steps.
Yeah.
And it just so happens
they've
got some really great resources specifically for aspiring paperhanger supervisors.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, for one, they've got this giant database of interview questions. And not just like generic job interview questions.
Okay.
We're talking like questions tailored to the specific skills and experience you need for this particular role.
Oh, that's helpful.
Like really, really helpful.
So you're not caught off guard.
Exactly. You can go into that interview feeling like confident, prepared.
So it's not like, tell me about your greatest weakness. It's more like, how do you handle a misaligned pattern on a curved wall or whatever?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or like, how do you deal with a client who changes their mind about the wallpaper midway through the installation?
Oh, my God.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, real world stuff.
Real world problems that you need to be able to solve.
That's so smart.
And they've got answers, too.
Oh, they do?
Like, they give you insights into what employers are looking for.
Oh, that's helpful.
Not just the technical stuff.
Right. But the soft skills, too.
Right, because you got to be able to talk to people.
Exactly. You got to communicate. You got to problem solve.
Yeah.
You got to manage those client expectations. That's huge.
Especially when you're dealing with something as, like, personal as someone's home or their business.
Right. It's their space. It's got to be right.
Totally. And so RoleCatchers out here, they're like the fairy godmother of like
a little bit
career prep for this field. That's amazing.
I think that's a good way to put it.
So they've got the interview questions, they've got the insights, they have anything else?
Oh, yeah. They've got one more trick up their sleeve.
Okay, lay it on me.
AI resume analysis.
Okay, I knew they were going to work AI in there somewhere.
Okay, come on. It's like the hottest thing.
It's so hot right now.
But this is actually really useful.
Okay. Typically, you upload your resume.
Yeah.
And their system analyzes it, compares it to, real job descriptions.
Wow.
Tells you, like, how well it actually matches up.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, is your resume speaking the right language?
That's so smart. Okay, so it's like taking the guesswork out of it. It's like,
100%. It's like having a career coach
Yeah,
in your pocket, basically,
I love it.
giving you that extra edge.
Well, on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone from, like, me being like, Paperhanger Supervisor, what?
Right, right.
To like, okay, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye.
It's surprisingly fascinating when you really get into it.
It is. It is. So any final thoughts for our listeners today as they maybe reconsider their career paths?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that, next time you walk into a room and you see those beautifully installed walls with those incredible patterns,
Yeah.
take a second and just appreciate the skill that went into that.
Yes.
The artistry, the craftsmanship.
Totally.
It's not easy, and it's a craft that's constantly evolving, as we've been talking about.
Absolutely. And it's more than just, putting paste on a wall. It's about problem solving and thinking on your feet. And those are things you can apply to any job,
Exactly.
any industry. Those are like life skills.
You have skills. I like it.
Big thanks to RoleCatcher for the assist on this one. They're always a wealth of information. And of course, big thanks to all of you for listening. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive.